Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're doing JMA Friday today, having a look at the weather for next month across the British Isles, as always on a Friday. And this is going to extend us out just before Christmas with this update. So we're going to have a look at long range Japanese model, and then we'll have a look at the long range CFS V2 as well, see what they're showing this morning for the next month. Remember, this is just a snapshot really of what models are predicting could look different next week. So we'll have a look at the charts in a second. Before we get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. You can have a browse widgets and click through the links. You'll be happy to pay for our website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads, both pages, which open up content. When you watch them, they close back up again. It does have to pay for gas office. And just say about Christmas shop. So it's Black Friday today, of course. Not sure if I should be mentioning that or not. There's a bit of controversy about it, I think. But anyway, it is Black Friday, according to some retailers. So if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, don't necessarily have to do it today, but between now and Christmas, then just click through the Amazon banners in the Christmas shop. It takes you to Amazon, where you do Christmas shopping as normal. Chris, gone from gas office to Amazon weekend ready fee on the items that you are buying. A big thank you to everybody for doing that. Been a huge success once again this year. And you've still got plenty of time to get those presents out to you. So big thank you to everybody for doing that. I'll speak about what's happening tomorrow at the end of the video, but it's going to be a very busy day at the website. So more on that at the end of the update. Right, let's start off with 500 millimeter height anomaly flowcharts for the next week. These broke down to weekly periods. So we've got the JMA 500 millimeter high anomaly for the coming week, which is starting today, 25th, through to the 2nd of December. The brighter colours, yellow and orange, extrapolate to high pressure, blues extrapolate to low pressure. So for the coming week, we find we've got a ridge up to the north and the northeast of the UK. A trough is down to the south, bit cut off, and the flow would be generally coming from an easterly type direction. Now eventually we might start to bring the Atlantic influence in a bit more and turn things unsettled as we get through into the latter stages of next week. But for much of next week, I think high pressure will remain quite dominant, and we'll probably start to turn it colder as well over the weekend and into next week, with an increasing risk of night frost. Now, week 2 looks very different. A big change from the first week of December. This takes us from the 2nd through to the 9th of December. And it looks much more unsettled here. We've got a deep area of low pressure through the country and going up to Scandinavia as well, and extending out into the Atlantic. So it looks like it's turning more unsettled, and the jet stream coming back. There is still some above average heights, but they're more centred over towards Newfoundland. So I think that's a milder, unsettled and more Atlantic driven first week or so of December. Now, if you're watching the videos through the week, you'll know it has been very much on a knife edge this opening week of December. Will it be cold and blocked, or will it be milder and more changeable? It looks like the JMA is siding with the idea that it turns milder and more changeable through that first week of December, with the Atlantic coming back, and also probably quite a lot of rain coming back as well. I'm going to go through to weeks 3 and weeks 4, which takes us from the 9th of December through to the 23rd, so just before Christmas Eve. And it looks like it's turning colder again here through the middle part of December. We've got above average heights expanding across Greenland and down into Iceland. The trough is being pushed through Scandinavia into central parts of Europe. We've also got trough low pressure in the central Atlantic. That could be staging a bit of an undercut. But essentially what's going on is this big blocking feature is setting up around Greenland and Iceland, which, if it came off, would turn the winds into the north or the northeast. So to me, that looks like it's turning significantly colder there through the middle part of December and running up towards Christmas. If you've been watching the Christmas updates, you'll know the CFS has very much been playing with the idea that we might have colder conditions this Christmas. We're getting far more updates this year from the CFS model with the Christmas updates that have been looking cold. Obviously not every single one has been cold, but there's been more of them this year compared to any other year when we've been doing these Christmas updates. It looks like the JMA is more toward the side of, but at least as we run up towards Christmas, we have a greater risk of colder and more blocked conditions setting up. Let's have a look at the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with those heights then. So this is the mid-latitude and tropical view. The British Isles is just here in the far top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. So for the coming week, which is the 25th through to the 2nd of December, what we find with the heights, remember, is that we've got ridging up to the north, trough down to the south, and probably bringing in the flow from an easterly direction. I expect this to be quite a cold week. For the south, it is going for a fairly cold week there. Less so for Scotland, so it implies we might be transitioning something a little bit milder and more unsettled for Scotland and Northern Ireland, England and Wales, coming out colder than average as the anomaly for the next week. The precipitation anomaly, you expect it to be drier than average, and that also is what the model is doing. The next week, this is the first week of December, so this is 2nd through to the 9th of December, looks much more unsettled with low pressure through the country extending to the Atlantic, and it goes to the east of us as well. The jet stream is coming back rather like that. So it turns milder than average. Temperatures are lifting up through that opening week of December. You also expect it to be significantly wetter, and that's what model is doing as well. So quite a mild Atlantic driven and wet start to December. And then we go through to those final 2 weeks. These are weeks 3 and weeks 4, the 9th through 23rd of December. Remember, this is a 2-week anomaly, so it could be a bit transitional. It perhaps starts off with that milder Atlantic-driven theme, and then it gradually transitions to something colder and more blocked, possibly even in the second half of the month. But for the 2-weekly height anomaly, we find that we have above average heights to the north and northwest. You can't see Greenland and Iceland on these charts, but it's up there somewhere. And then there's the trough over towards the central part of Europe, which brings, I think, the winds in from the northeast. Now, you'd expect this to be quite a cold couple of weeks. The temperature anomaly is actually close to average, a little bit colder than average in the south, close to average, or maybe even hints a little bit above elsewhere, and I think that is probably overdone. I think if we saw the anomaly set up as the model is predicting, the height anomaly, we would have a cold couple of weeks. But do remember, this is transitional, so it might be that week 3 is the same as week 2, which is mild and Atlantic driven, and then week 4 is the week that turns much more blocked and then significantly colder. And because we've had 1 week, week 3, which is mild, and then 1 week, week 4, which is cold, might be that the two are offsetting one another a little bit. So you always, with these anomalies, have to keep in mind that they don't tell you the whole story, perhaps, but I do think the way the heights are set up for that 2-weekly period, we will probably have a colder than average week there. Well, cold than average couple of weeks. The precipitation anomaly also looking not as unsettled as week 2, but nevertheless still a bit above average, and with the weather potentially turning colder, that might be a bit wintry. May have to think a bit about snow there. So then go through to CFS V2, that's for JMA, of course. Let's have a look and see what the CFS is showing this morning for the next month. Again, bifurcated with our heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week takes us from the 25th today through to the 1st of December. We have above average heights around the UK, generally centred a little bit to the north and northwest. It will keep the flow in from an easterly direction, cut off lows down to the south. So in agreement with the JMA, essentially, for quite a settled and quite a cold week coming up. Big changes for week 2. This is the 2nd through to the 8th of December. Looks much more unsettled, but actually this is centering the trough more towards Scandinavia. We're blocking up here and the low pressure down here. I think this could be quite cold, actually, with the flow coming from a northwesterly direction. So cold and unsettled there through the first week of December, as opposed to the JMA, which does look milder and again quite unsettled. Although there is this area of above average heights around Spain. When that happens, it can set the flow more from the west. But I think overall, CFS possibly on the colder side of things for the first week of December. So still, we haven't really resolved that issue around the first week of December. We go through to week 3, which is the 9th through to 15th. And again, we've got the trough up to the northeast of us. This ridge is strengthening around Spain, so I think the flow is becoming a little bit more Atlantic driven there for week 3. That's probably a milder week and not overly unsettled, I wouldn't have thought. And then week 4, which is the 16th through 22nd of December, this looks very different. What we have then is above average heights through the country and extending up to the north as well. So the flow with that one is going something a bit like that. It's a rather bizarre looking chart, but I think the upshot would probably be that, if anything, we would begin to pull colder air into this ridge from the north or from the northeast. So reading between the lines, I think second half of December, it hints that it's going colder there running up towards Christmas. Don't necessarily expect to see that backed up by the temperature forecast, though. Temperature anomalies then for the coming week. It's colder than average across the country. Be a lot of frost over weekend and into next week. Week 2 is also looking colder than average, so there is disagreement there between the CFS and the JMA. And the CFS is coming more down on colder and unsettled weather, whereas the JMA is more towards milder and unsettled weather there through that first week of December. So still quite a bit of uncertainty even for the start of next month. Week 3 is looking ever so slightly milder than average. That's a more Atlantic driven week there. And then week 4, we've got that ridge over the country. Now, the model is suggesting a milder than average week from the 16th to 22nd December. I think that would be colder if the if that height anomaly set up as it is suggesting. There'd certainly be the risk of significant night frost. The precipitation anomalies, the next week is significantly drier than average. However, week 2 is significantly wetter than average. So cold, wet for the first week of December might be something wintry there. Then week 3, it's still a bit wetter than average, but it's less of an anomaly. The anomaly is going back closer to average. And then week 4 just comes out with average precipitation. But I would have thought, based on what the heights are doing, that's likely to be drier than average and also colder than average there from the 16th, 22nd of December. So it's all a bit of a mixed bag from JMA Friday today. It looks as though we're going to keep it cold for the next few days, the end of November. It's like to have quite a bit of frost. We get through into December, and even early in December, there's still this discrepancy about what's going to happen through the first week of the month. Will we have it cold and unsettled? Will we have it mild and unsettled? So disagreement there. And then we get through towards the middle and second half of December, and reading between the lines, and it is a little bit difficult to interpret, but reading between the lines, I think the middle and second half of December, so running up towards Christmas, I think both of these models are kind of hinting that it's going to turn colder, and possibly with some quite extensive blocking setting up around Greenland and Iceland. Now, as ever, these are experimental charts, so it's not to be relied upon. They could look very different next week, so that's what today's snapshot is looking like. Tomorrow, big day coming up. We've got the weekend forecast. I'll be with you earlier than normal. Hopefully, I'll have that up for you ready by around 10 o'clock in the morning. And then around midday, we'll be releasing the final seasonal model roundup for the winter. So we're going to get around 12 or 13 long-range models together and see what they're all showing for this winter. Will the consensus be towards a colder winter or a milder winter? You'll find out tomorrow. That's normally released on Sunday, but because of the way the calendar's worked out this year, I'm having to release that one on Saturday, because on Sunday we're going to do the final winter update where we get solar activity and ocean temperatures and that kind of thing all together. So that's on Sunday. Tomorrow it's a weekend broadcast, earlier than normal, and then we'll have that final model roundup for the winter on Saturday afternoon. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.